If your Clo3D garment look broken or flat in Blender, this workflow will fix that. In this tutorial, I'll show you how I export from Clo3D, clean up UVs, set up materials, build a simple scene, and create a polished final renders in Blender with tips you can use in your own projects. Let's jump in. I have already created a simple garment, so now I am selecting all the patterns, setting the particle distance to 5, and organizing everything neatly like this. What I usually do is group the pattern based on their fabric types and arrange them into clean square sections. So all the opacity zero patterns stay together in one area and the one main fabric pattern go into another. While doing this, make sure none of the pattern overlaps and leave a little space between each other. It might seem small, but it makes a huge difference later when working with UVs and material in Blender. Once that's done, go to the UV editor, right click and reset the UVs so they match the 2D arrangement. Then go to UV 0 to 1 space, right click again and choose fit to UV space. Then hit OK. Now I'll separate the opacity 0 pattern into their own square and adjust them as a bit so everything fits nicely inside the space. This is just the way I like organizing things. If you have a different method, that's completely fine. There's no single correct way to do it as long as the final result works well. For exporting, I usually export the garment and avatar separately. First, go to the file, export, OBJ, choose where you want to save it and name it something like dress red. In the export setting, uncheck avatar, graphics, and trim. Then enable thicken unified UV coordinates and set the scale to meters. Make sure your setting match mine. Then click OK. Next, export the avatar. Again, go to File, Export, OBJ. Name it something like avatar and this time only enable select avatars. Set it to thin and unweld. Then export it. Before moving into Blender, we still need to bake the textures. Choose your texture resolution. I usually go with 4K or higher if your system can handle it. Enable all tiles along with diffuse and normal maps. If you are using extra maps like opacity or displacement, enable those too. Choose a folder to save everything and hit save. Now open Blender. In the output setting, set the resolution to 1080 by 1920. My camera setup is already ready to go, so I'll just delete the default cube. If you want to know how I set up the camera, I have linked that video in the description. Next, switch the render engine to cycles and make sure it's running on GPU. Also go to edit, preferences, input and enable emulate numpad. Now go to file, import, OBJ and bring in the file exported from Clo3D. Holding the control key, let me select multiple files at once and import everything together. Once the file are in the scene, select the camera, press G to move it closer to character. Press 0 to switch into camera view. Then hold Z and switch to render and material preview mode. So you can see the material and shaders on the avatar and garments. I usually prefer material preview because it's much smoother to work with. Render mode can slow things down quite a bit. Now select the dress object and create a simple split view like this. Just click and drag from the corner. Then change one of the panel to the shader editor. Next, go to Edit, Preferences, Add-on, and enable Not Wrangler. With the principal BSDF shader selected, press Ctrl Shift plus T. This opens a window where you can load the backed texture from Clo3D. Since my dress pattern use style 1001, I'll select both the diffuse and normal maps with holding control. After importing them, change both the base color and normal texture from single image to UDI tiles. You can also adjust the normal map strength here if you want stronger or softer fabric details. Now select the dress material, press Shift A, and add a hue saturation value node into the shader setup. This is a really easy way to change the color of the texture without editing them internally. Now comes the fun part. Select the avatar, go to the material setting, and in the principal BSDF shader, you can play around with the metallic value to get different looks. Or if you want the clean, transparent avatar effect, change the shader from principal BFDF to glass BSDF. Then lower the roughness a bit, and you'll get that nice glossy transparent look. Let's change the boots color now. Select the boots material, then click on the base color here. From there, you can easily adjust the color. Make it lighter, darker, more saturated, whatever fit your scene best. Let's create a quick background for the scene. Press Shift A, Mesh, Plan. Then scale it up with S. While pressing S, you can freely scale it in any direction. Then scale it along with the y-axis and bit more to shape the ground nicely for the camera view. Next, go to Preferences, enable online access, and install the landscape extension. Once that's done, press Shift A and search for landscape to add it into the scene. Over here, you can change things like the random seed, mesh size, and height value to create different shapes. Press Shift D, then Y. Duplicate the landscape and move it along the y-axis. Adjust the scale and position slightly so the environment doesn't look too repetitive. Then hold Shift and select both landscape objects together. Press 0 to jump into camera view and check the overall composition. If something feels off, keep adjusting the placement, rotation, or scale until the scene look balanced and interesting from the camera angle. For this part, switch to render or material preview mode so you can see the changes in real time. First, select the plan and create a new material. In the shader editor, set the base color to black, lower the roughness all the way down to 0, increase the IOR a bit, and set the transmission to 1. This gives the ground that clean reflective look. Now select the landscape and rename the material to something like landscape. Change the color to a grayish black and also Lower the roughness to 0 for a smoother surface. To apply the same material to the other landscape object, you can either assign it manually from the material dropdown or do it faster by selecting all the other landscape first, then selecting the one with the correct material last. Press Ctrl L and choose link material to apply it or to them at once. Now let's add an HDRI for the lighting and sky. In the shader editor, switch from object to world, press Shift A, texture, environment texture, click open and load the HDRI you want to use. I am using only from Polyheaven. They have ton of free HDRI available in 2K, 4K and even 8K. Connect the environment texture to the background node. Then select the HDRI node from Ctrl T so you can control the mapping and rotation. Finally, switch to render mode to preview the HDRI lighting in the scene. Add a mix RGB node, change the blending node to multiply, and set the factor to 1. Then add a black body node, set the temperature to around 10,000, and connect it to socket B of the mix RGB node. This gives the lighting a cooler tone and helps shape the overall mood of the scene. Now go back to the mapping node and adjust the HDRI rotation until the lighting and reflection look good on the character and environment. You can also head over to color management and try different view transforms or looks to get a style you like. And if you want even more control over the HDRI colors, add a hue saturation value node to tweak the tones and intensity. Select the landscape and press tab to go into edit mode. Press O to enable proportional editing. Then select the vertex you want to move and press G to shape the landscape. Just keep tweaking it until the background feels right for your shot. You can also adjust the final render resolution from here and enable render region to preview only the area inside the camera frame. It makes testing lighting and material much faster. The main thing is making sure the scene look good from the camera perspective. Another things that really change the feel of the render in the camera focal length. A lower focal length give a wider, more open look, which usually work great for landscape style scenes. For studio style render, a higher focal length tend to look better because it gives that cleaner and more compressed photography look. Now let's add a final light to the scene. Press Shift A, light, area, then place it somewhere that looks good for the composition. I usually just move it around and play with the angle and position until the light feels right. And with that, the landscape setup is done. Before rendering, make sure to adjust your render samples. If you are using reflective or transparent material, it's usually a good idea to increase the sample count for cleaner results. But you can also test lower value like 100 sample first to see if the quality is good enough for your scene. Also increase the diffuse and glossy value in the light path settings and make sure transparency is set to 64. Once everything looks good, press Ctrl F12 to start the final render. And after the render finishes, don't forget to save your image. Thanks for watching. I hope this tutorial helped you out. If you have any question, leave them in the comments and make sure to check out my YouTube channel for more tutorial like this.